Welcome to another episode of Ignite Agility. And before we talk all about job search, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. So today I have Chad Beyer and Jeff Bubaltz with Wisconsin Agility, and I'm going to let them tell you a little bit about who they are. Jeff, you want to go first?
Sure. So my name's Jeff Bubals. I'm a professional Scrum trainer with Scrum.org, pro Kanban trainer, and Chad and I together run Wisconsin Agility, where we do organizational agility advising, training, consulting, everything in that space. And also one of the co-founders of Scrum Match, which we're going to talk about today.
Nice. Chad.
Yeah, same thing. So I'm Jeff's partner in crime with Wisconsin Agility and all things with our Agile Wire podcast as well. And then I guess the thing that I would add in addition is I also have Agile songs that I create, parody songs.
Yes, you do.
So you can check that out at agilesongs.com. That'll take you to the YouTube channel, and you can maybe put a smile on your face if you need it when you're in the trenches as a Scrum Master or anyone in and around Agile things.
Good for a laugh. They give you that much needed break in the day for a laugh. So, how did Scrum Match get started? Which one of you would like to tackle give us the origin story?
Sure. So our co-founders, Joe Geske and Steven Sykes, they came to us and they said, we think we have this problem. So they've run a consulting company over in Germany. And they're also, Joe's a professional Scrum trainer with Scrum.org as well. So we've known Joe. We tried to start a product at one point with them a while back, and it didn't work out. We killed it pretty fast. It was a great idea, but maybe the market wasn't ready for it. And they said, we have this other idea. What we're seeing is we're getting a lot of our clients that are asking us to help them find Scrum Masters because they can't find good Scrum Masters. There's just so many piles of all these applications. They can't tell the good ones from the bad ones. And so they're helping us. We filter through it. And then we even sit in their interviews and we help them find good Scrum Masters.
Wow.
What if we did this for everybody? Like, why can't we sell this in the in our industry? And we said, I don't know, but our clients struggle with the same thing too. Like, they don't know what they don't know. And there's good Scrum Masters out there, and then there's ones that are really Scrum Masters in name only, and they really don't know what they don't know. And a lot of times they do a lot more harm in organizations than they do good. And if an organization doesn't know the difference, it can give all Scrum Masters a bad name. And then some organizations we've even seen then get rid of all their Scrum Masters because of a few of these other Scrum Masters that are kind of giving them a bad name. So we wanted to solve that problem. And so we wanted to differentiate the true Scrum Masters, and we wanted to help match them to employers that are serious about Scrum.
Chad, anything to add?
No, I mean, I guess just, yeah, it's an ongoing problem. And I guess it sounds so harsh sometimes when we're talking about the value proposition, because you are sort of like calling out the fact that, you know, the phrase like Jeff just used, like some Scrum Masters cause harm. It's not that they're malicious people.
Right.
Like Jeff said, they just maybe they're just not aware of what really effective Scrum looks like. So they're trying, but at the end of the day, like if you're an employer and you need to hire somebody and you want to maximize the ROI on that employee-employer relationship, right? I hope that doesn't sound too cutthroat capitalist, but that's business. Like literally we turn down around 50% of people trying to get onto the platform. So that tells us right now in the market, it's literally a coin flip's odd on hiring a Scrum Master in the market today.
Well,
and we just don't think that's a good business landscape.
Right. And not even from a capitalistic point of view, but not everybody's a good fit for everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just the way of the world. So tell me a little bit about what role you're playing. I've been kind of stalking you on social media because you're working in sprints, how very meta of you. Let's use this very framework that we all teach, right? So what is your active role in Scrum Match as we speak? I'll start with Jeff.
Yeah, so we're both partners, right? So we set the strategy, our product direction. Joe is the product owner. So we are using Scrum with a really high performing Scrum team to develop a product for Scrum users. It is definitely a meta level thing. But yeah, so we're helping a lot with the strategy, our direction, how we take this product to market. We're also reviewers. So anyone in the Americas that would need to be reviewed, Chad and I are reviewing. So we review in pairs, And it's really just our validation of where are people at, right? So they can fill out a lot of stuff on a application and they can say a lot of things, but until we really have a conversation, we really don't know where people are at. And so that's kind of our role, is to kind of like first like qualify them and it's like, are they ready for a review? And then after that, like we go through a review that's usually 60 to 90 minutes to kind of validate where people are at.
And I maybe shouldn't have used the word meta. I don't know. Are we allowed? Is that still,
I think so.
right? Chad, anything to add to what Jeff said about your role in Scrum Match?
Yeah, I mean, the history, he covered it well. Like we're at this point, it's a startup company. So everyone involved, it's sweat equity. Like we're just putting our time in and working to try to validate this as quick as possible. And we're all very comfortable in the product space. We've been business owners, product owners, scrum masters, even in our previous lives, we've been all kinds of different roles. So like we've seen a lot. So you know, you can know how to try to bring a product to market, but at the end of the day, you've got to validate it. And so we're all sort of working right now towards validating the employer side, really finding out if this is something that the market wants. We definitely have validated that Scrum Masters are willing to join the platform. Like that was validated very early on, and with really passive marketing at best. So there's eager talent out there who want to be on the platform. And now we've got to try to do the hard work of finding the matches, right? And not to say that the reviewing side is not hard work. Like it feels relatively easy, I guess, because we feel pretty confident in the level we're at to be able to review people. I mean, we can get pretty close to assessing somebody in a short amount of time, because you just, you ask some questions to surface their knowledge, you find out what their experience is, and they fall somewhere on the scale. So, yeah. So I guess our involvement is sort of everything at this point. Like we're not hands on keyboards doing any coding. We leave that up to the awesome plug and play Scrum team in Germany, which they are really, I mean, amazing. Like 2-week sprints, but leaving every day with an increment that's working. So like, it's just when we say high performing, like they're extremely high performing when it comes to Scrum.
If every day in the sprint were your last, had you delivered value or had you not delivered value? And I'm hearing value delivered.
Yeah.
Every day. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I did hear the word sell from Jeff, when he said, hey, we're going to see if we can sell this to other people. So what's the vision for monetizing it? Is that really on like the recruiter or talent acquisition side, or the company looking for a Scrum Master? Say a little bit more about your plans for monetization.
Yeah, so it is obviously with a startup, pricing models and that that will change as it needs to. But right now, the approach we're trying to validate is, are people willing to pay? And obviously, early adopters, you'll be rewarded heavily, right, for being an early adopter. Meaning, if you're an employer out there and you're looking to hire top tier Scrum Masters right now, you should contact us immediately and we will get you onto the platform and show you some of the talent, and we'll work out the details later. So it really is, you get rewarded for being an early adopter. So I guess that's, maybe for what it's worth, a sales pitch today. Like we're really looking to connect with those employers. We do not have a shortage of Scrum Masters knocking on our door to get on the platform. That is not the problem we're trying to solve right now. So,
and to give you a little insights behind the cover, so we've started out with Scrum Masters in mind, but then it was last week we're like, well, why not product owners too? Like, what would it take to do that? Let's validate if this works for product owners. Like, and so the typical response would be for most people, I think, and we thought this way to start too, was like, well, we'll just change the platform, like make coding changes for like, what are the questions we ask, and make sure you can like select product owner versus Scrum Master. And we'll add all these features in, and then you'll be able to pick one or the other, and then we'll get the product owners on, and then we'll try to sell that to the employer. Well,
what about
why
developers?
do that? Like, why
stop there?
Well, sure, but why? But what the hard part for us isn't so much developing a maturity scale, doing the reviews. The programming isn't the hardest assumption. The trickiest assumption is will employers pay for this?
Yeah.
And so what we did is we actually just put on the website, hey, we now have a thing, we have product owners, and we have it on the website, and they can fill out a contact form. And then if we have a company that says, "Hey, I need a product owner in Chicago," we'll go find product owners in Chicago. Like, we have a network, we'll reach out to them, we'll concierge that service and find that and build that out. But let's not build a bunch of stuff when we don't even know there's a market yet. So we're kind of eating our own dog food here and trying to like validate, like, hey, where could we actually make a profit? Like, why build something if there's no market there?
I prefer
And
the phrase drinking my own champagne.
there you go. I like that better.
Feel free to use it. Do you have a vision of charging the job seeker, or is the vision like never charging the job seeker, or maybe because they're getting a service too?
Yeah, it's funny you asked that. I mean, just this morning we talked through a range of options that we have on the table. But right now, the primary model of money coming in, because I didn't answer your question from earlier, is the employer pays essentially that fee for the recruiting service. And again, we're more than a recruiting service. Like a recruiting service, I don't know. I guess we do a more niche, harder work than just a typical recruiting agency, I think, in this, because it is so hard to validate where somebody's Scrum Mastery skill set is. So that's the hard work we're putting in the reviews. And we know that recruiting services charge companies often a percentage based
of
on
the
salary of somebody coming through. And I'm not sure, what the whole world makes for Scrum Master salaries, but it's a pretty decent salary, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's definitely money there. Again, we just have to get that value proposition in front of the employers and help them realize, like, this is a smoking deal, especially for early adopters. This is a smoking deal. Like, even when we start charging, essentially the way we're looking at it is hiring credits. So down the road, you may pay for one hiring credit, a pack of 5, maybe a pack of 10 hiring credits. You can imagine a large corporation, they might have a lot of Scrum Masters, and as they leave and move on to better opportunities, they might have to cycle through and hire people. So yeah, it's sort of selling a hiring credit, and then when that match is made, the commission essentially is collected.
And the Business Insider posted a couple of years ago now, but they listed Scrum Master as a job that would assure that the candidate gets $100,000 in salary or more if the candidate had even an entry level Scrum Master credential. So knowing that some of the recruiters or talent acquisition professionals I've worked with in IT over the years, sometimes it's 25% of the first year salary.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we have our eyes on that. It's, again, like, we just have to validate. We've got to find, it's harder to find the employers for some reason, I guess, at this point. But that's the challenge of running a startup. You got to set a hypothesis, set a product goal, and then go after it. And we actually haven't been on this too long, actually. I mean, when did we shift? It was sometime in December. We sort of shifted the initial goals, product and sprint goals, from get a bare bones platform up so we can start to bring in talent, to, okay, now we have enough talent on the platform, we need to shift to the sell side and employer match. So, I mean, it was built in a few weeks in October, the platform.
Nice.
Like, it's been very rapid.
So let's pick on the employers for a little bit. The talent acquisition professionals, formerly known as recruiters. I envision someone in that role being told, get somebody in here who knows that Scrum and Agile stuff, and that person saying, yes, boss, right away. I don't know how to write one of those job descriptions. So I'm going to grab this project management job rec and I'm going to slap the words Agile and Scrum all over it and send it out the door. And so that, to me, does a couple of potential damaging things to that company. They could be sending a message to the good candidates saying, you do not want to work here because they don't know how to spell Scrum, right? Mm-hmm. But it's also doing a disservice to what that recruiter is trying to do. So what could Scrum Match provide to a talent acquisition professional who's listening right now? What could it do to make their job easier?
Yeah. So, I mean, we'd be more than happy to help them, write a job description or help them figure out how they would compensate, at different levels, different types of Scrum Masters. We could do that. That would be a one-off thing, but that's probably not our main thing right now. Um, if they need a Scrum Master and they haven't ever hired them before, we can come in, give them candidates, and they can go through the interview process. Or we could even sit with them and help them with that if that's what they wanted. So we're open to many different options as a startup. Like, we're figuring it out where there's a market, what people want, and we'll work with people to make it happen. So, but I think that, a lot of times people don't know what they don't know. And so they put that type of job description out there, like you said, and they probably hire a certain type of person, a certain type of Scrum Master, not the top tier talent. And what they don't really realize is that a Scrum Master is like, if you get the right one, it's exponential for the value that they provide to their Scrum team, right? It's that team, all the teams around them, it's the value to the product. Like, it's many times their salary, the value back to the organization. But if you get the wrong one, it can be that much in negative value as well. So like, these are kind of high stakes hires if you're really thinking about it. And we think that we're here to help. Now, if you were a recruiting company or something like that, and maybe you had your own pool of Scrum Masters, we could also help you with that. Like, you might have Scrum Masters in your pipeline ready to go and get hired, and that's great. But we see ourselves then more for those types of people, we have a convenience factor. It's like going to the gas station to pick up a gallon of milk. You're going to pay a little bit more going to the gas station to pick up a gallon of milk than if you go to the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're growing it themselves when they're going to the grocery store, and we have them already curated over here in our convenient Scrum Match platform. So you could come to us.
Sorry. So validation of the candidate. So I just heard make that talent acquisition professional's job easier.
Yeah. Yep. For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we've even had these conversations with some recruiting companies where they go and find their own talent and then place them at clients. And they sort of ask us like, well, in a way, you're kind of competing with us. And we're like, I guess, but like, if you need help and you want us to do it for you, then let us help you. Right. Otherwise, be our guest to go do the hard work of finding top talent Scrum Masters. We don't think in the kindest way, with all the love in my heart, I don't think they can do it. They're just not specialized enough. They're not.
Yeah, I hear you. And if we flip it around from the job seeker's point of view, it's no secret that I'm a certified Scrum trainer with the Scrum Alliance. It's no secret that you boys are, professional Scrum trainers with Scrum.org, different singers, same songbook, because we're all teaching Scrum Guide. Is there anything from a job seeker's point of view that you're screening out? Is it really, hey, we really want to cater to people who have the Scrum.org family of credentials, or is it Scrum Alliance or equal opportunity?
No, it's equal opportunity. We actually, not that long ago, a few weeks ago, we had someone come through and they were our first one that was the highest rank that we have in our maturity scale. And they're from Scrum Inc. That was their kind of background. So not even Scrum.org.
Right. I didn't even mention Scrum Inc. Right.
Right. So, and that's fine. I mean, they don't work for Scrum Inc., but like, that was where all their training came from, and it was fine. And that's like where their mindset was at. What we're really looking for is like, do you understand how to optimize a product? Do you understand Scrum as a whole? Do you understand how to optimize a value stream? What product definitions mean? Trade-off decisions about managing dependencies versus eliminating dependencies. Like, there's many things we're asking about to kind of vet where your experience lies and to see where you fit in. And so we're open to all forms, right? But it is Scrum Match. And so what we found actually is that some people come in and they think it's Agile Match, and it's not Agile Match, it's Scrum Match.
Yeah.
And so if you can't teach me Scrum and explain Scrum, but you only have done Agile things, that's great. Go help an organization with that. But this is for people that are doing Scrum and Scrum Masters.
That is a very awesome clarification, because a lot of times people use the A word synonymously with Scrum. And I always point out, Scrum is Agile, but Agile does not mean Scrum. So let's just be clear here.
Yeah. And again, because you mentioned sort of the different certifying bodies in the community across our trainer networks, as far as I'm concerned, we all put down our weapons years and years ago in the early 2010s, I want to say. And like, hey, the Scrum Guide is the Scrum Guide. We all agree on that, right? Yes. Cool. And so since that point, like, it doesn't really matter who you're working with or for. Scrum is Scrum. And sure, is there a little wiggle room in how certain people interpret things? Absolutely. But Scrum is Scrum. And so when we go through review and somebody, like Jeff said, I mean, in a matter of like 30 seconds, sometimes we can find out that they just don't know what Scrum is. Like they maybe never read the Scrum guide or haven't looked at it in years. And how can you claim that you're a Scrum master that's going to help a team improve and utilize the framework to its maximum benefit if you just can't hit the basics and the foundations? So those are just people that don't get on the platform. They might be great people, again, right? We've also had a few people. I have 11 years of experience as a Scrum master, and that's what they put in their profile, the written form. And we're like, tell us more. Like, you can't just, like, you could say that about anything. I have
Right.
11 years experience in X. Great. Like, just the fact that you've been here for 11 years doesn't mean anything. Tell us what your outcome, your impacts you made. So again, people are trying their best. No one's malicious.
No.
But this is what we have to sift through. And it's, it's hard. It's also, I don't know, we've gotten a lot of positive feedback, right, Jeff? On the fact that, like, it's hard when you get to the in-person review portion and you're like looking someone in the eye and you got to let them down and maybe say, hey, we're not going to let you on the platform. Like, that's happened a few times. We hope we can weed people out where we don't have to, selfishly spend our time with someone who we're not going to put on the platform, but it's happened a few times.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I don't know, it takes a certain level of skill set, I guess, just to be able to tell somebody confidently, hey, you're not going to get on the platform. But a lot of people leave with a positive experience. Because if anything, they got a free round of feedback.
Right. And feedback, not bad or good, but feedback is feedback. And I can't tell you how many times graduates of ours will even say, well, I'm not getting a Scrum Master job. I'm not getting a Scrum Master job. And don't people want to hire me? And I'll go look at their profile, right? I'll just hop out on LinkedIn because that's what the recruiters are doing anyway. And I'll say, well, gosh, it's really interesting to me that you say you want to get a Scrum Master job. When I look at your LinkedIn profile, you have project manager, drove this, drove that. And I'm like, you're not telling me that you want a Scrum Master job. Yep. And they're like, oh, I didn't even realize. So I think that feedback is valuable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of the things we do after every review is we give the person that went through the review, we give them personal feedback verbally, and then we write it for them, and they get a part of the platform where they can just see what we wrote them. And so we'll give them things like, work on these things, look into these resources. Here's a list of books, podcasts, things like that we'd recommend for you. Whole list of stuff, right? They get a whole big list of things that we heard, and we give them feedback on it. Then we take that, we say, well, here's what we want to tell an employer. And it's not like it's different. It's just like, I'm not going to tell them about all the things they need to learn. I'm going to tell it like, here's the positives about this person. Hey, guess what? They're really hungry to learn. They've shown this over and over again. This person right here, they have great experience at the product level. And they've done these things, they've done product discovery. Like, we'll list all these complementary practices. We'll give them real details of the things that they're going to get. And so they kind of get in an unbiased, assessment an employer is of like where this person's at. And then they can dive into that in an interview. Tell me more about this. Tell me more about that. So both sets get two different sets of feedback that's kind of customized for them.
So maybe a controversial thing to throw at you. If somebody's looking for a safe, scaled agile framework Scrum Master, is that a match for Scrum Match, or is that a nope? Because we already said Scrum is Scrum, but safe doesn't speak Scrum Guide. Scrum.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we're fine talking about this. So it's happened. We've had some people come through with a lot of safe experience. It's not one size fits all. Again, we just are validating everyone. Like, we're giving everyone a fair shot. We go through very similar questions, very similar process. Here's what I know about SAFe. It changes verbiage from the Scrum Guide. For example, there's an abstract called a team backlog in SAFe. There's no such thing as a team backlog in Scrum. There's a product backlog. If you start creating team backlogs, well, then what is that? Is that a team product owner or a team owner? Like, everything falls apart when you start changing some verbiage. So you can use Scrum under SAFe, but there's also some things that can really mislead people and send them down a path to not even have a cross-functional team set up. And these are basics. Like, Scrum is based on a cross-functional team. So if you take Scrum and you put it on top of a testing team, and all you do is provide testing services, unless you sell testing services, that's not a product. That's a skill. So you've created a skill owner, a skill backlog, and a team of people with a specialty skill. and you've lost the plot and you completely missed the point of Scrum. And so it doesn't matter whether that's under safe or anything, you're just probably not going to get past the review into the platform. So we give everyone an equal opportunity, but I will say there's just times when safe, I don't know, it just muddies the water. Also, it's not scaled Scrum framework, it's scaled Agile framework.
Right.
So we're right back to that same, are you teaching people safe, or do you deeply understand Scrum, and can you help somebody with just Scrum?
Nice.
That being said, we had a candidate not that long ago that came through that was very comfortable and safe, but use that as a launching point to help move organizations forward and help them to do more continuous planning, more continuous delivery. And they were just like, I love starting in a safe environment because there's just so many opportunities to make them better. Like, we're going to look really good here really fast. And so, like, it was great conversation. Like, yeah, you got a really high rating. So, not saying that that's a bad experience. It's just like you have to understand what the whys behind all these things if you're doing that.
Anything that I have not asked you that you were hoping that I would regarding Scrum Match? And if no, we can move to the shameless plug call to action part of our podcast episode here. And I'll start with Jeff and then we'll wrap it up with Chad. Jeff, what's the final thought you want to leave our listeners, regardless of whether they're job seekers or employers, with?
Yeah, if you're a Scrum Master, product owner, check out the platform, right? Like it's pretty interesting. If nothing else, check us out on LinkedIn. Like every sprint, we're posting updates of like what the platform looks like and how we're building it. What's the new product goal? What's our progress towards that? Here's our outcomes. Like if nothing else, you see how a product's been growing from nothing to something in a few months. And so it could be a really cool thing to follow just from that perspective.
Kind of a live case study about Scrum.
Yeah.
People ask all the time, like, where can I see kind of Scrum in action? Check it out on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. And then if you're an employer, like we really want to get employers on here. We have a few active right now. We have a couple more in the pipeline that are just starting to come on, but we need more. And so we want you to use the platform. At this point, we're willing to pretty much give it away for free if you're willing to talk about working with us. And so, like, let's talk about it. Let's figure it out together. And we think this is highly valuable, right? You could be paying $30,000 to $40,000 to a recruiter to help you find a Scrum Master, and we're saying we'll give it to you. So, like, we think it's worth your time to meet with us, and let's talk about how we can work together.
Awesome, Chad.
Yeah, I'll just second that. That's a leap of faith that you take, I guess, early on. I mean, even Jeff and I with Wisconsin Agility, our company, like we operate on referrals. And we've had that strategy from the beginning. We had a hypothesis that we've validated year after year now that if we do good work and make impacts for organizations, referrals will naturally, organically occur. And it's worked out for us, right? Like, so it's the same thing with Scrum Match. Like we want to get employers on the platform now, and then just tell us if it worked out. It should. Like we have a lot of confidence that it will work out for you. And then all we want you to do is tell that story and refer somebody else. And that's how these things grow. But we need people who are willing to give it a shot. And if you're not an employer hiring, but you're a Scrum Master, but you know your company has people who are the decision makers to hire, like drop it on their desk, like send them the link. We'd love getting more eyeballs on this. It's grown rapidly, pretty organically, but obviously we can push it more. And then lastly, I guess I'll be really selfish. I am working. It's been a long time since I've released an Agile song, and Jeff pushes me all the time. It's all my fault. He's the best life coach ever. He pushes me all the time. And I always use my excuse of like, you can't force creativity, Jeff. It happens when it happens. I get all like hippie on him. But anyway, I'm working on a new song. It's in recording right now. I'm getting there, and I think it'll be a fun one. I think it's going to be good. I actually performed it. I performed it live at the end of a class that we taught the other day. So there's a few people out in the world who got a sneak peek of it, but it's coming soonish, hopefully. So maybe even by the time this airs, it'll be out.
So the URL where we can find
agilesongs.com. That'll get you there.
Nice. Well, thank you both so much for letting us learn more about Scrum Match.
Cool. Thank you.